Throw it.
Summer is blockbuster season when movie audiences crave action.
Rio Bravo is not just one of the best classic Western films for no reason. The captivating storyline and unending intense action carved a top spot for the movie. The movie spared no time revealing the tense atmosphere. From the first minute we got into the conflict. Joe Burdett, a spoiled, arrogant gunman, carried his gun and shot an innocent man after a short riff with Sheriff John Chance. He cannot commit such a heinous crime without facing the law. He has to face the law. However, Joe's brother, Nathan Burdett, the most powerful rancher in the region, won't let that happen. This brought a significant twist to the movie. The action that followed next got everyone's heart racing at a very fast pace. The question that follows is, what happens next? Do you really know what happens next? If yes, you are about to know more. Sit tight as we explore some weird facts in the movie that you haven't heard before. The meaning of Rio Bravo. When the actions in the movie got intense, the conflict between Sheriff John Chance and his crew against the unruly strong rancher with his gang, you look through the title to find any clue to what might happen next. You check through the word, and there you have Rio Bravo. This is not a normal English word that you are used to. You are then faced with another big mystery about the movie. Rio Bravo is certainly filled with many such mysteries, many questions that are hard to answer. Luckily, we are about to answer one for you. As said earlier, Rio Bravo isn't an English word but rather a Mexican name for the Rio Grande River. The Rio Grande is a popular river that forms the border between the United States and Mexico. It is also known as the Rio Bravo del Norte, for those interested in the Spanish translation. How does the river connect to the movie? It is simple. Rio Grande is translated as angry river. What better word can describe the sharpened anger of Nathan Burdett and his hired gunmen, trying to find their way to Sheriff John Chance's space to hijack his criminal brother Joe Burdett? It was an intense moment, leaving no clue as to what happens at the end. The uncertainty surrounding the storyline gave the movie a unique form of entertainment, as the unpredictability, much like the flow of a river, added a charming suspense. Rio Bravo also describes a location significant to the history of American Old West culture, which characterized frontier life, cowboys, and outlaws. Rio Bravo replayed the old lifestyles of legendary men like Buffalo Bill, Wyatt Earp, and Jesse James. The aggressive actions of Nathan and Joe Burdett described the violent lifestyles of the cowboys and outlaws in the 18th and 19th centuries. The movie highlights one of the significant aspects of American culture, which is why it has gained immense popularity and remains a reference point to this day. Rio Bravo was a rebuttal to the movie High Noon. Have you watched High Noon, a movie produced in 1952? The movie is another popular Western with a storyline similar to Rio Bravo. However, there is a slight difference. The difference is one big mistake that Howard Hawks and John Wayne felt needed to be corrected with the production of Rio Bravo. High Noon narrated the story of Marshal Will Kane, a law enforcement agent who wanted to stand against the violence of the outlaw, Frank Miller, and his gang, similarly to Rio Bravo. The difference in this story was that Marshal Will tried to solicit the help of the townspeople, but he was turned down. Disappointed by the cowardice of the townspeople, he decided to face the crisis head-on with the later support of his newly married wife, Amy. Howard Hawks and John Wayne felt that a marshal or law enforcement agent, who is supposed to be a symbol of power in society, begging for the help of the people, gives the profession a definition of weakness. A military leader must always act decisively and be willing to take risks without relying on the masses. Definitely, this was the story that Rio Bravo narrated. In the midst of the crisis, Sheriff John Chance didn't request the help of the townspeople, even when it was obvious that he was outnumbered by the outlaws. Rather, he held his ground, taking the partnership of a few men in helping against Nathan and his hired gunmen. Some of the members of John Chance's team felt that the risk was too much to take, but John's bravery drove them through the challenge. At the end, Howard Hawks and John Wayne made their point, proving that it only takes one brave person and a few men who believe to overcome evil. A law enforcement person must be willing to put their life on the line to save the people without showing any weakness or requesting help from the scared and untrained populace. Sheriff John and his team of 4 men were able to achieve the unbelievable feat of holding the dangerous gun-wielding gangs before the capable defense authority entered the scene. That was remarkable. The story adaptation of the movie Rio Bravo was adapted from the story by B.H. McCampbell, which had a similar title. However, the movie differed from the original short story in many cases, possibly due to different additions and subtractions. McCampbell was not pleased with such a result. He felt it was some sort of manipulation to prevent him from taking complete credit. How did Howard Hawks come about the movie? We just discussed the feeling that inspired the creation of the movie. However, there is still more. Such an excellent work of art will certainly take more than feelings to achieve. A lot of work was certainly put in place. Howard Hawks, the creative director, invested serious hard work to achieve the movie. Perhaps the energy for the hard work stemmed from his desire to give a strong comeback into the movie industry after going on a long 4-year career break. Coming off such a long break, there are so many worries and fears about making the perfect movie that will impress the audience, considering the fact that the last movie, Last of the Pharaohs in 1955, was a critical box office failure. Another failure can shoot his career into the abyss of oblivion. Howard knew what was at stake. Hence, he came up with a perfect storyline, captivating enough to solidify his career excellence momentarily. The question is, how did he come about the iconic story? According to information gathered from him, he gained inspiration to produce a Western movie while living in Europe. During that time, he realized the wide popularity of this movie genre and the great acceptability among audiences. He wondered why he couldn't reproduce such success in America. This curiosity became the foundation that gave birth to the movie's idea. However, he decided to put in some unconventional modifications. Unlike other Western movies that center around one plot, Howard decided to make something more complex. He created an unusual Western movie that is character-driven with several storylines running through it simultaneously. When Howard pitched the idea to studio bosses, he suffered an immediate rejection. They believed that trying such a new style could negatively impact sales. Howard had that settled out. He told the studio bosses that he would be casting the legendary John Wayne as the lead actor. Instantly, he won their hearts. The studio bosses believed that casting an A-list actor like John Wayne in a movie meant the project was worthwhile. They were not wrong. The movie became a momentary success and created a new route in the movie industry. Director Howard Hawks did not let the success of Rio Bravo die down immediately. He produced other movies that continued in the same pattern, more like a sequel. Howard worked with screenwriter Lee Brackett to produce the remake of Rio Bravo in 1966. The new movie was titled El Dorado. The movie shared an identical story with Rio Bravo, but a few changes were made in the casting. Robert Mitchum portrayed the drunk deputy, but a few changes were made. The drunk deputy was the sheriff in the movie, while James Caan acted as the young team member, but this time took the name of Mississippi against Colorado, which was used in the original film. The movie's momentary success, Rio Bravo, achieved an unimaginable box office success, but the success didn't start at a fast pace. The American critics were not excited by the slow-paced action in the movie. An opposite perspective was recorded in France. Critics at Cahiers du Cinéma not only liked the movie's structure, but they also hailed it as a masterpiece. A similar positive remark was gained in Italy, where it got huge success. The phenomenal structure of the movie became the framework for the spaghetti western boom, a new genre of Western movie that took major dominance in Italy. The initial cold reception in America wasn't strange. Western movies had more dominance in Europe before Howard decided to give it a try in Hollywood. However, the cold reception didn't last for long. The movie gained momentum in the American movie market and achieved strong cultural recognition. By the end of 1959, the sales of the movie climbed to the highest peak among other Western movies of that year, grossing $10.5 million at the domestic box office, excluding the international sales. The success of the movie drew the attention of many movie critics. The unique production style and narration made the movie a top reference among other Western movies. Rio Bravo was included in the list of 1001 movies you must see before you die, a list edited by the popular movie critic Stephen Schneider. The film also made Roger Ebert's great movie list. This further solidifies the strong relevance of Rio Bravo in both the old and contemporary American movie industry. The movie's relevance has transcended different generations due to its unique culture. Worthy of note, Rio Bravo was voted number 41 on BBC Culture's 100 Greatest American Films in July 2015, which is about 6 decades after the release of the movie. What other proof is needed to describe the undying value locked in the movie? Howard Hawks did not want to cast Ricky Nelson. Ricky Nelson played the role of Colorado Ryan, the young but skillful gunslinger. He was invited by Sheriff John Chance to join the fight team. At the beginning, he was skeptical about the mission, fearing the great risk attached. He was only a young boy who wanted to enjoy life. Later on, he reluctantly joined the team and proved to be resourceful. Before Ricky Nelson got the movie role, he was already building a momentum of success in rock and roll music. The talented rising music star decided to give acting a try. However, that came with a lot of friction. Howard Hawks didn't like the idea of casting Ricky. He felt the rising music star was too young and lightweight, lacking the gritty and rugged appearance deemed necessary for the role. Howard had no other option than to cast Ricky Nelson. He didn't do that without trying out other options. Howard's preferred option was Elvis Presley. He believed Presley had much more to offer in connecting to the teenage audience than Ricky. Presley, who was also a rising country music star, liked the idea of taking the role, and he was an inch away from signing the contract until Colonel Tom Parker, his manager, came up with an unpleasant demand. The manager requested a wage that was way too big. Howard and John Wayne never had such a large amount factored into their budget. Hence, they ditched the idea of casting Presley for the role. Presley might not have received the anticipated role due to his manager's greed, yet he never let down his desire to express his love for the military. He joined the United States Army in March 1952, 2 months before the filming of Rio Bravo started, following the disappointing turnout of the event between Howard and Presley's manager. The production team went further to search for a person to take on the role. In the end, Ricky was chosen. Howard was skeptical about Ricky's delivery, hence, he deliberately gave him the fewest possible number of lines, an unusual treatment for a third-billed star like Ricky. The young talent was not offended by the whole situation. Rather, he was more focused on achieving his acting career debut. After earning the role, here comes the challenge of building confidence. Do you realize that Ricky usually rubs his index finger along the side of his nose? Howard advised Ricky to use this iconic gesture, similarly used by John Wayne and Montgomery Clift in Red River, as a sign he was relaxed, even though he might not be. Ricky pulled a good performance in the movie, especially in the musical that happened toward the end. Collaborating his great music skills with Dean Martin to deliver the spectacular song My Rifle, My Pony, and Me gave the movie another strong shot at success. Howard admitted that having Nelson's name on the poster probably endeared the movie to a large number of teenage audiences, further adding about $2 million to the film's box office performance, which was remarkable. Ricky Nelson versus John Wayne. If you think Ricky Nelson's only obstacle in starring in the movie ends with the director Howard Hawks, then you might be making a big mistake. John Wayne was another big hurdle that Ricky needed to jump. The 51-year-old Wayne didn't like the idea of casting Ricky. The reason is not far different from that of Howard. He believed that Ricky didn't belong in a serious Western. Ricky represents the new generation of youth. His rock and roll music doesn't align with traditional American culture. Unlike Presley, the preferred artist whose country songs resonate with the old American culture, Ricky did not permit himself to be stereotyped. Rather, he proved his distinctive skills. Ricky did this by obsessively practicing spinning revolvers until his hand was blistered. This deep dedication caught the attention of Wayne. Later, Ricky earned Wayne's admiration. Wayne saw Nelson's smooth move on set and was impressed. By the end, he reportedly told friends Ricky was the real deal. Ricky didn't only prove his worth to the iconic Hollywood old guard artists. He was able to sustain a close relationship with them. It was reported that Ricky celebrated his 18th birthday 1 week into shooting on May 8, 1958. Howard and Dean Martin prepared the perfect birthday gift for him. You will be amused by what it is. They gave him a 300 sack of steer manure, which was ridiculous. More ridiculous was that they threw Nelson into it. You will wonder what that is for. They said it was a rite of passage. It was just another lighthearted moment to express a close, bonded relationship on set. The big action finale was shot twice.
By a stoical sheriff and his deputies.
You always keep that carbon copy?
Revenge struck the wicked Nathan Burdett after laying siege to the sheriff and his team. Following the coming of the American marshal into the town, the next action was to pay the villain back for his evil. You know what happened thereafter. His warehouse was blown up. This scene was one of the greatest landmarks in the movie. It will interest you to know the difficulties that resulted while filming this iconic scene. It was revealed that the scene was shot twice. You will wonder why an explosion scene would be shot twice. It literally means wasting money. The decision to reshoot the scene wasn't an easy one. A mistake was made during the first shot, which necessitated a reshoot. The mistake came from the prop team, who filled the warehouse with colored paper. They probably wanted the scene to look colorful. Their plan got extreme, making the scene look like a Chinese firecracker exploding and making the explosion more of a firework display instead of the wreckage expected to be portrayed. The production crew doesn't want such an outcome. In that regard, the sequence was reset, the necessary adjustments were made, and it was reshot. The second shot produced the appropriate dramatic flair and message. How did Dean Martin get the role of the drunkard dude? The role of dude looks ridiculous. A deputy who lost his respect and resorted to drinking alcohol. He got so much worse that he couldn't afford to buy his desired alcohol and resorted to begging a lowlife Joe Burdett for a drink. The role might look ridiculous, but it drew the attention of a large number of actors. James Cagney, John Cassavetes, Edmund O'Brien, Rod Steiger, Richard Widmark, John Ireland, Tony Curtis, Cary Grant, Henry Fonda, Glenn Ford, William Holden, Van Johnson, Burt Lancaster, Ray Milland, Spencer Tracy, and Robert Mitchum were considered for Dude. How did Dean Martin come off such a long list to land the role? You are about to find out. It all started when Dean Martin's agent pulled a call through to Howard Hawks, requesting his client to be considered for the highly competitive role. Dean Martin didn't need much talk to prove his worthiness for the role. He had already created popularity in the act of pretending to be slightly drunk while on stage to amuse the fans. He was regularly seen with a glass of apple juice intended to look like booze. When such a person called in for the role of the drunkard dude, it was a perfect pick. Instantly, Howard scheduled a meeting at 9:30 the next morning. Dean was so dedicated to getting the role. Although he had a show in Las Vegas a day before the meeting, the show was to last till midnight. He tried his best to make it to the meeting by hiring a plane to fly him to the meeting. Howard was impressed with such a spectacular dedication. He instantly assigned Dean the role and sent him to get a costume. About the costume, there was a funny story attached to it. Dean was reported to have shown up on the first day of shooting in an almost comical cowboy outfit. The outfit got everyone amused. Howard approached Dean and told him, "You are not playing a cowboy, but just play a drunk." No one knew what Dean was thinking. Coming on set with such a misplaced outfit, the dude role was beyond just a role to Dean. It was a great accomplishment. He couldn't wait till the movie was released in 1959 before revealing to the public his role in the movie. Dean appeared on Perry Como's Kraft Music Hall show in 1958. During the show, he mentioned that he was making a Western starring John Wayne and that Howard Hawks directed it. He didn't stop there. He went further to reveal his excitement about acting in the movie. He said he was playing the part of the drunken, dirty deputy. He then said, as a joke, "Why they picked me, I don't know, pal. By now, you should know why he was picked." Filming the movie. The filming of the movie began on May 1st, 1958, and was completed before the end of the year. Howard Hawks was strict about achieving the expected production time. However, the filming was 6 days above schedule. Despite the quick and prompt production, Warner Brothers didn't release the movie in 1958 when the movie production was completed. Rather, the movie was strategically placed on hold till the start of 1959 and was premiered in New York City. Howard's ability to achieve the early production schedule didn't mean the filming was easy. There were difficulties and several discomforting situations. A significant portion of the filming took place outdoors, marked by severe and unfavorable conditions, including intense heat. Not just that, there was an invasion of grasshoppers that fried on the hot lights and littered the sets. It was definitely the most disgusting moment for the crew. The look of the film was patterned with the old American Western frontier look. The cinematographer Russell Harlan achieved this very creative look by modeling the appearance of the movie with the frontier paintings of Charles M. Russell. The two creative artists didn't only share a common name, they went further to share similar work. The film received positive remarks from the audience. The depth and genuineness revealed in the movie drew the attention of a large number of movie lovers. The setting and the actual location of the movie. According to the story, the movie took place in Presidio, Texas. Presidio County is located on the southwest border between Texas and Mexico. Its western border is the Rio Grande River, which in the Mexican language means Rio Bravo. Evidently, the movie was named after the location of the movie. Moreover, the movie narrated the Hispanic lifestyle, although some Hispanic critics believed such a reality to be discriminatory. They said that the movie produced a biased account of the Hispanic men, painting them as cruel and violent people. Whoever was right between the production crew and the Hispanic people, one thing was true. The movie was not filmed in Presidio, Texas. It was filmed in Old Tucson, Arizona. This was the same set used in Gunfight at the OK Corral in 1957. The production crew chose a more accessible location befitting of filming the movie, so as to prevent unexpected confrontation while on set. Harry Carey Jr.'s scene was cut off. Harry is one of the biggest American Western movie actors. The phenomenal actor performed alongside John Wayne in the movie Red River in 1948. Due to his strong popularity in the Western movie genre, he was among the cast in Rio Bravo. Unfortunately, his face didn't appear in the movie. What happened? Harry acted irrationally while on set. He dishonored Howard Hawks by calling him Howard instead of Mr. Hawks. Howard was known to be a strict person when it came to maintaining high standards and possessing a strong personality. Harry's disrespectful action led Howard to cut off the scene in which he appeared in the movie. However, contractual obligations were met, Harry was paid the full amount of his wages, and his screen credit was honored. But the audience didn't see his role as a townsman on their television. According to the report, Harry was battling with uncontrollable intake of alcohol during this time. This could have probably been the cause of his disrespectful act. Though it did cost him an appearance in the movie, he was able to shake off the loss and appeared in other great movies, notably Gremlins in 1984. Challenges and breakthroughs. Every movie has its own unique challenges and solutions. Rio Bravo was not different. Each character was faced with their own unique challenge, which usually resulted in the complexities surrounding their role and the quest to meet expectations. Howard Hawks' biggest challenge was breaking through the hard ground of career silence. The talented director went on a 4-year break, following the failure of his last movie in 1955. Coming back came with a lot of fear, mostly bordering on the thought of creating a perfect movie that will win the heart of the audience. At one point, Howard felt incapable of directing the movie. He was so nervous. However, he broke out of his fear. After making some good tries during the first few days of filming, he regained his confidence and went on to make the bold choice of directing the opening sequence using the silent era style. The movie started with a voiceless performance for the first 4.5 minutes. The extraordinary move was a means to pay homage to the silent movie era. Movie critics credited Howard for such ingenuity. Moving on from Howard to John Wayne, the co-producer of the movie. John Wayne is an experienced actor, having performed in several top-listed movies. However, performing the love scenes with Feathers, played by Angie Dickinson, came with a big challenge. The reason was due to the huge age difference. Wayne was 51 and Dickinson was 27. You can say that, but it is just a movie. The critic didn't see it that way. People raised eyebrows at the age gap, and Wayne, on the other hand, wasn't comfortable. He didn't want to get entangled in the web of controversies. Howard devised a smart move to help the character jump through the challenge. Instead of Wayne making a heavy romance scene with Dickinson, it was stripped down to just an exchange of witty dialogue. However, Wayne still didn't find it easy until being coaxed by Howard to do it. It's a good thing that Wayne overcame his challenge. Let's talk about Dean Martin's challenges and how he climbed through them. Dean, acting the role of the drunkard dude, didn't come easy. Performing as an alcoholic man battling inner demons didn't come automatically. There were a few imperfections. Dean turned to his friend Marlon Brando for advice about playing the role. That challenge was little compared to the scene in which Dean had to cry. A strong macho like Dean finds such performance impossible. Having to pretend to cry like a baby looks like an insurmountable mountain and is out of place. Still, he had to do it. It was difficult, and he had to break through his tough, manly orientation and, of course, pretend to cry. There was nothing more weird to Dean. It took 40 trials to achieve the spittoon scene. The spittoon scene, where Dude had to reach into a spittoon for tossed coins, was one of the biggest scenes in the movie. Dude, desperate for a drink, was on the verge of performing the challenge given by Joe Burdette until he was stopped by Sheriff John Chance. The resulting situation was a big chaos. The scene was the first in the movie, and it became the defining one. Such a strategic scene needed top-notch perfection to steer the movie in the right direction. Howard understood this fact. Hence, he demanded absolute precision. He wanted the tension sharp and the shame palpable. Achieving such a perfect output came with its own pain. The scene took 40 takes to get right. Dean was frustrated due to the continuous trial, but at the end, the result came out excellent, and the wonderful performance glorified Dude's relevance in the movie. Walter Brennan's voice and limping Walter Brennan played the role of Stumpy, the cranky old jail guard who steals scenes with his high-pitched, raspy voice. Audiences believed the voice part was acted and that he was probably hamming up his voice. You are about to hear the real truth. Brennan's raspy voice was real. The raspy voice was a result of an accident that happened when he was a little boy, which cost him his teeth. Later on, he was struck with another serious illness that permanently damaged his voice. Everything turned out to be a beauty in disguise. At least the voice created an unforgettable sound that made him one of Hollywood's most distinctive character actors. The half-growl and half-cackle was indeed a unique trademark. What about the leaping in the movie? Was it real too? No, it wasn't real. The leaping was an act, and it won't be the first time he will be taking such a manner of acting. You shouldn't be surprised about how he made it real. A big number of the audience believed that he had real leg deformities. In an interview, he stated that for years after the film was released, people who met him for the first time would expect him to limp like Stumpy. Well, they would be surprised that such will not happen. There is a difference between movie life and real life. Ward Bond's sudden exit. Ward Bond, playing Pat Wheeler, surprised the fans following his sudden exit due to being killed early in the movie. It was quite unusual for a major character to die so soon in a movie. Bond's appearance was brief in the movie and impactful. According to the report, Ward Bond and Wayne were very close friends and also staunch supporters of the conservative motion picture alliance. Appearing in the movie was just a means to encourage his friend and pay homage to his ideology. John Wayne's lucky hat. Fans who pay close attention when watching the movie figured out that John Wayne's hat in Rio Bravo looked familiar. The observation was accurate. Wayne habitually wore the same Stetson hat in multiple Hawks films. It was more than a fashion style, it was a trademark. Wayne reportedly believed the hat brought him luck and preferred its well-worn look to a fresh prop. The hat was more than a fashion style to Wayne in Rio Bravo. It was a message. The direction in which the hat faced determines his countenance in the movie. In the scene where he needed to act friendly and soft, the front of his hat turned up, while in the tough guy scene, the front of the hat turned down to reciprocate the traditional tough guy mode. There were only 5 close-ups in the movie. Most of the scenes in the movie were filmed at a distance. Only 5 close-ups were recorded in the movie. The first was when Joe fired his gun. The next was when Dude was trying to roll a cigarette. Dude pouring a shot of whiskey back into the bottle and beer glass, where a drop of blood falls in, was a close-up scene, including the scene where Dude was alerted about the gunmen in the bar waiting above him in ambush. The final close-up scene was the scene where Sheriff John Chance's boots tapped together in the sheriff's office as he was sitting in a chair. The musical part of the movie. The last thing to come across in a Western movie is a part where characters sing, giving the movie a musical flair. Western movies are always about gritty actions, the outlaw against the law, and gun duel scenes. Howard gave Rio Bravo a different turn. Near the end of the movie, Dean Martin, Rock Nelson, and Walter Brennan's characters were singing and making music while passing the time in the jailhouse. Howard used the moment as an opportunity for his talented cast to express their musical gift. The music became an important success story of the movie. Not just that, the three actors who sang in the movie ended up making big breakthroughs in music after the movie. They got their top 5 hits on the Billboard Hot 100 within 5 years after the release of the movie. Dean achieved the feat with the hit Everybody Loves Somebody in 1964. Ricky Nelson with Traveling Man and Young World in 1964-61, and Walter Brennan with Old Rivers in 1960. The three actors never knew they would become top-list musicians following their success in the iconic movie. Life certainly has an unexpected way of ordering things. The only John Wayne Western role without throwing a punch. In every Western movie that John Wayne appears in, expect him to punch an opponent in the movie. It was more like a ritual to him. However, he broke the jinx in Rio Bravo. No single punch was recorded from him throughout the movie. The only time he hit someone in the movie was when he hit Joe Burdette across the face with the barrel of his Winchester. The action in the movie did not end with John Wayne. The movie was locked in intense action from the beginning to the end. The chaotic plot captured the attention of the audience in the movie, and everyone anticipated every scene to answer the question of who would win between the outnumbered Sheriff John Chance team and the aggressive, lawless Nathan Burdette team. Which of these facts shocked you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, click on the video displayed on your screen.